Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to now our residential presentation for Oakland County Solarize event 2. I know a lot of you were just here for our commercial nonprofit police of worship one, so I do apologize. There'll be a lot of the same content, so bear with us. But we do have a very exciting solar story and some different information towards the end. So yeah, with no further ado, actually one further ado, if you haven't signed in yet, please do so. I'm pretty sure everyone has, but just scan the QR code with your phone if not. And we'll go ahead and get started. So like I said, we have a pretty stacked lineup with a lot similar content. We will be going through how solar might work for your home, including the financial and technical aspects, and why it's probably a great decision to save money on your energy bills while also contributing to climate action. And I'll go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Lexi Crilly. I'm with the Great Lakes Renewable Energy Association. I'm our Solarize coordinator, so please feel free to reach out if you have any questions regarding what we talked about today, solar in general, or renewable energy transition. A little bit about GLREA. We are a 501c3 nonprofit working to make clean energy more accessible here in Michigan. We do that through programs such as Solarize, as well as some legislative advocacy and education work. I also didn't mention this in our first presentation, but we are launching an ambassador program. If you're really interested in renewable energy, you want to learn more and become a more effective advocate in your community, please feel free to check us out at glrea.org. You probably know a little bit about Solarize, hence why you're in this room already, but essentially it is an educational and group-wide discount that we've been expanding around the state of Michigan to make solar more accessible and a better financial decision for residents, businesses, nonprofits, places of worship, and other types of organizations. You'll hear this presentation and go over all those different aspects of solar, what you might need to know to make that personal decision. And then you'll get to participate in our group buy discount, which will be up to 15% off your solar installation. This is our 53rd event, and so far we've had 185 sales. At the very low end of our estimates, this has led to over a megawatt in electricity generation and over $350,000 saved for participants. So hoping to bring those numbers up, maybe get up to 200 installations after tonight and continue to expand it throughout the state. As you can see, we've kind of been all over the map. This is our second event in our Oakland County Solarize series. We'll be having 8 events, so 6 more. Please feel free to invite others to join this event or subsequent ones and help, turn Oakland County more green. Lastly, GLREA is a nonprofit, like I mentioned, so we're not benefiting directly from this program, but we do really care about this work for a couple of reasons. And it's represented in these 2 graphs. On your left is the rise in global average surface temperature, of course, caused by anthropogenic climate change. And I won't talk about this too much, but we're in a pretty dire situation with the climate and feel like we should do everything we can to decarbonize and promote renewable energy generation. And then on the right is the rise in average utility costs in Michigan. That's DTE and consumers' energy. As you can see, they have increased a lot over the past couple of years, and by all accounts will continue to increase at an even more drastic rate over the next few years. So with all that being said, solar can be a really effective way to, for one, reduce your energy costs. It makes sure you're importing less energy from the electric utility, while also contributing to the just transition movement. And saving money, saving emissions, we hope you're able to go solar. I already talked a little bit about GLREA, but there's a ton of other resources on our website, including some more detailed information if you need further assistance and guidance with your solar journey. With that, I will hand it to Nicole Card. Thank you.
Thanks, Lexi. Is everyone able to hear okay without us using the microphone? It was giving us a little trouble earlier. Okay, great. Well, thank you for coming out tonight. As Lexi said, my name is Nicole Card, and I'm the Sustainability Specialist with the Oakland County Office of Sustainability. I'm going to just start us off by talking about our why, so why we think solar is valuable to the community, and also why we partnered with GLREA to offer this program. So the first and foremost, the biggest reason is that we want to help the community address energy burden and increase the affordability of their energy bills. Lexi showed on her slides that sort of dramatic up for DTE and consumers of energy prices. And we know that that's been happening for several decades, outpacing the rate of inflation, even before we've had some of the more recent energy shocks that we're experiencing now with oil prices, or with the proliferation of more data center proposals in Michigan, which we don't know how that is going to affect energy prices. Another thing that's a high priority for us is community resilience. So we know that the energy grid here in Michigan is quite old, and we're feeling vulnerable to power outages and other just results of that being aging infrastructure. So solar with battery storage can provide a lot of resilience to power outages, but even without battery storage, solar panels rather produce energy during what is the peak energy load for the grid. So by having some of that generation decentralized and done on your own house, that reduces the strain on the grid, and it really helps everyone in the community, even if folks don't have solar on their own home. Something we specifically love about the Solarize program is that it's a great way to connect with your community. And I like to point out that everyone who's here in this room right now is your neighbor, and there's someone that you have at least one thing in common with. You have similar questions and curiosity about solar. So if you're able to stay for a minute or two after the presentation, we really encourage you to chat with each other, although I see that already happened a lot before we started this presentation, so that warmed my heart and I appreciate seeing that. And the final reason that we wanted to partner with GLREA for this program is that we believe that we need to transition away from energy systems that cause carbon pollution. We know that it is harmful for human health, and we know that it's harmful for our environment. So we're looking forward to helping people upgrade their energy. It's a relatively new technology for most people, so just making that more accessible, more easy to understand. And I wanted to briefly mention that we at Oakland County are on a somewhat similar solar journey, perhaps to you guys who are out here tonight. We have one solar array that is on our campus buildings. It's about a 57 kilowatt system that we put in 2023 on one of our sheriff's buildings. And we are also doing a slightly larger solar project, which is being built in Hart, Michigan. It's either just done construction or wrapping up right now. But starting in June of 2026, that construction will be offsetting 65% of our campus's electric usage. So we are also exploring solar for many of the reasons that I just talked about. And the last thing I want to talk about is the food. So it's back there at the table here. It's from a local restaurant called Los Gatos Tacos. And everything, all the plates, cups, forks are compostable. So we have a little compost bin. You can see it's got an orange bag and it's got a green sign that says compost right there by the door. So anything that you use or any food that is left over when you're done, you can place in there. There's also very extensive recycling from Novi Library. So I don't know as much about that, but I think they're all labeled pretty well. All right, I think that's all I have. So thank you again for coming. And I'll pass it back to Lexi, or I'll pass it to Dave. I will pass it directly to Commissioner Dave Woodward.
Thank you. So I get to give, pick up from here. It's great to see everybody. Thank you for gathering on this evening. My name is Dave Woodward. I have the great honor of working with Gwen Markham on a regular basis as the chair of the board. As someone, and we were reminiscing that we were all climate activists at a young age. I got involved in politics, actually with a student environmental organization back in the day, and many decades later, I'm still doing it. And so I get to share my own journey, which kind of formally kicked off almost to the day. It was Earth Day 4 years ago that I actually had a solar company come out and look at my property and see like what's possible. I had a friend who had recently gone through it, and we have a little bit of a competitive streak. And so your solar system's how big? Mine will be bigger. And I told you have to make it bigger. And it was on my birthday, which is actually in about a week or so, that I actually signed the documentation with Michigan Saves to actually get the financing to do the project. So that was 2012. And so these are some photos from doing that. But I'm excited to tell this.
Yeah, on the top there.
This?
Yes. And it's the opposite of the way you think it should be.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. Yes. And so like for me, it's the one thing that we know is that energy costs are just going up. And we keep talking about the energy costs, but has everyone read that DTE is proposing a $500 million rate increase, like it's the largest in history. And it's only going up, and I'm gonna talk, you'll see actually some of the stats of the, like the company that I worked with put on to basically make the financial case even before the federal tax credits. But there really, I mean, four things that really mattered. One, I wanted to permanently reduce my energy bills going forward. Secondly, to take advantage of the tax credits that were available, because I mean, it was an opportunity to bring down. Now, unfortunately for residential, those tax credits it wasn't just a change in policy. They were yanked out, taken away, so that we're at the mercy of the electrical companies. Well, I'll come back to that in a second. Resiliency was the top priority. Values that I have, just, I mean, as someone who's doing his part to, our family's part to make certain that we, reduce our carbon emissions and self-contained, generate our energy and support the grid, all the things that was being taught before. And there's another thing is, just like the preliminary research at the time told me that the increased value of my home by actually doing this is that there's a return on investment, and we can talk about that a little bit later. So for me, the proposal that we put out is basically a 9.6 kilowatt system. And as it was described, you basically look at your annual energy consumption, and it was designed based on the space, and most of this is south facing, and so I have a really low pitch, so we have a few on the north facing that doesn't optimize all those panels, but based on their estimate, they thought they could do this, and so this was the image that they actually put on the roof, which is why these firms can do such a great job using technology to get an estimate. The plan was an 81% offset. So if I could reduce my energy consumption with these panels, 81%, this would be great. And with a goal of trying to yield a 69% total savings with a estimated projection based on the angle, the site, pitch, and all that type of stuff, about 88 kilowatts. People probably don't usually go about their life figuring out what does my house use on a regular basis and all these types of things. But I mean, these firms can actually help do that pretty well. Is this the new slide?
It should be.
No.
Is it not?
But that's all right. I'll fill in the other parts. So at the end of the day, the total cost of the system was $27,500.
Please note, the library will be closing in 1 hour. If you need a new library copy, we ask that you come to the circulation desk now. Thank you.
The federal tax credit was worth that, and so out of pocket ultimately it was going to be about $20,000. So all in all, Michigan State was an incredible firm to be able to work with. 4.2, I was able to get a 4.25% interest rate, 15 years, 0 out of pocket, lifetime projection of the project, 25 years we talked about, expected it to last a lot longer. Utility savings over time, 27,876 in excess of what out of pocket. That's not taking into consideration all the other the faster rate of inflation that energy bills are growing. So my monthly cost was $150. My energy bill at the time was about $157, and so it's almost a wash. And so there's a cost of what's that differential of that 20 to 30% that I would be paying. Now, this was what, I mean, an illustration. This is what this is what my current bill was. No, excuse me. This is what my current bill was. And post solar is what the green would be going forward. Now, this was projecting a 4% increase, 4% annual increase in energy rates. Since we did this, started in 2012, rates have gone up considerably, and that's again, they're not going to go down, and we're going to be facing annual increase rates at an incredible click. Whereas at the end of 25 years, you're looking at, like, I'm estimating like just a 4% annual increase, $381 a year a month without solar, and staring down $91. This was with the projection based on what past experience, pitch of the roof, weather conditions, and this is in Michigan, because everyone says that solar doesn't work in Michigan. That's baloney. So, what's the lived experience? So this is, jumped. Did we fix it?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes, we did. It just jumped. The lived experience is that energy generated was actually in excess, about 1% more than what it actually thought it was gonna do. So this is 2025, so this is a few years later. Between 2012 and 2025, I did get a solar battery installed. It first started because my buddy got a solar battery. You can't have one, I can't have one. So that was a little bit of the motivation, but also that instead of like sending my excess energy to the grid, I could actually contain it, and when the sun goes down, that the house could live on it and go forward. So this is the actual utilization, where the blue is the consumption that the house was relying on. The green is the extra energy that was generated the house didn't need, that went into the battery, that got used when the sun went down. And the gray is all the excess that went to the grid. So March is when in the Woodward household, March is a very good month. The first day that you're putting excess into the grid, we light a candle. And as you can see, like, that's where the excess is. And DTE steals my energy, takes the energy from my grid, charges my next door neighbor twice as much, even though I produced it for them. And gives me only a partial rebate for that. But even with that, the home energy use, $9,400, 9,400 kilowatts, total energy generated by all the panels, 8,900. And so that 500 differential, and I come back to it in a second, really speaks more to this baby, because we also got an EV car last year as well. When it comes out, this is how the numbers worked out. This is 2025, energy imported, 4,400 kilowatts, energy exported, 3,455. So I drew in 4,400. So that's in the winter months when the sun is not positioned, it's not as much daylight, or it's in a position that doesn't generate as much energy. From the energy exported, that's all money that DTE fights me on every single moment and wants to give me as little money as possible. Right now, it's about 13 cents a kilowatt, but they pay me back. When you put it all together, my total energy cost in 2025 was about $354. These are actual energy bills, added it all up, spit it out, works out about $29 a month. The electric car is $28 a month of that. So if I got rid of the electric car, which I won't do because it's the most amazing thing to drive, my bill would be almost zero. And proof of this, this is actually the app. So anyone who ever gets solar, you will spend all your time looking at this. Anyone who's done it, you're like, it's crazy. And poor Glenn has to listen to me. Like, look what we're generating today. It's a great day. That is my last month energy bill.
Wow.
$1.05. From start to finish. Brought the vendor out in April, checked with a couple people on the pricing, signed the paperwork in May. It was installed in August of that year, and it has been humming and everything. I know there's a question, I think, in the last group, like, how does it handle the weather? I got it once in the winter because when there was 6 foot of snow on top of it, it's really hard to generate. So I did push that off. My wife thought it was crazy.
You went up on the roof and.
I got a special brush.
Oh, you
for
got
it.
the one with.
But the reality is I've never washed them. I've never done anything to them. We've had, hail and other inclement weather. They've held up great. I expected a significant drop of energy consumption from year 1 to year 2. There's going to be, some degradation over time. I haven't been able to see it. It didn't hurt that my neighbor's tree next door fell down, which is right in the middle of prime sun in the spring through summer. But at the end of the day, like, this is the real number. Based on the estimate going forward, the 2025 numbers, I discovered in our lower level of our house, which when we renovated, when we moved in 13 years ago, I just assumed all the lights downstairs were LED. We have since replaced those, and it's probably going to drop our bill another $150, $200 a year because the kids like lots of lights down there all the time. But this is the experience. It works great. It's wonderful. And when people ask me, like, is this something that's sustainable? Is this something that can be done? Energy costs are only going up, and they're going up at a much faster clip and a rate of inflation. And finding ways to bend the cost curve is the most efficient way to permanently lower energy costs going forward. I didn't have to shell out any money. I mean, there's no out-of-pocket money. And and like I said, my payment, which was a little bit higher when I started, Michigan State allowed, I mean, the rate that I had locked in, once the rebate came in, they allowed me to re-amortize with me on the same terms. So it was basically, they took it and paid down the principal, and then they reset what your monthly amount is. My payment out of pocket is what I was gonna be paying for energy regardless. And so my differential of a couple $100 in a few years, I'll completely own the system and be generating energy forever. And like I said, I would have virtually zero energy bill if we didn't have our EV car, which the sun powering my car is a pretty awesome thing.
And you're saving a ton of gasoline by now.
$4.11.
Nice.
It's the most, it's the most glorious thing.
It was
So,
$4.99 at the corner.
is it $4.99? Not in my mind, no. But hey, this is the whole picture. It is, for anyone who's like never done it, it is an audacious thing, and you're like, is it working? How is it gonna fit everything together? Things I didn't expect is the resiliency when the power goes out, that the sun comes up, it charges my battery, it powers my house. My friends and neighbors bring all their food into our fridges because it's the only thing on the block that's running, except for the ones that have a diesel battery. And that is kicked on probably 3-4 times for a significant period of time. Overall, the app is amazing.
What's the capacity of your bed?
13.5 kilowatts. So it's generally enough to run an entire day until the sun comes up. And even like in a cloudy day like this, it's one, it knows when the storm is coming, so it will automatically kick in and by default charge the max, anticipating you might go out of juice. But an average day, spring through summer, it fully charges. The battery gets charged completely, and I can operate. And it certainly, I'm able to take advantage of the lower DTE rates between peak hours of 11 and 7, because I have no need to draw from the grid almost. It's never happened between 11 and 7 since we put the system up. So voila.
Thank you.
Like, what is this slide? I sent you the wrong one.
Well, thank you. Always great to hear the solar success story. Next up, we're gonna have our installer, Brandon Knight with Sprintergy, talk through some of the technical aspects of going solar. Here's your phone. This will be about 15 minutes, and then we'll have plenty of time for questions. So yeah, please have your questions ready.
Thanks. Got an outfit change into a sweatshirt. I had a Lions hat. What's the score of the Pistons game?
Not good, probably.
No one
Okay for
cares?
you.
We're just too long.
Tigers playing the Braves, right? We didn't know the Pistons score.
It's, we're up 58-50.
All right.
Okay. So it was Dave? Was that
Dave, yes.
Okay, sorry, I walked out for a minute, but so it looks like you covered everything. We're done. But I guess I could say a few things. So yeah, Synergy is based down the road in Novi. So we're very excited about this event. Our office is Catherine Industrial Drive, about a mile away from here. And we've been in Novi for 16 years now. Generally, doing turnkey residential and commercial solar arrays. So we're in the business to be the company that would do something like what Dave did. So generally, we get a utility bill, we use a simulation software, we figure out a mix of solar panels for your home. So in order to achieve those types of savings, you would be looking at a solar array that's probably close to 110% of your like offset. So you would be producing over the course of a year about 110% of your solar power compared to what you consume at the home in order to get that type of savings. Getting to a $0 bill in this current policy framework is very difficult. Getting to like a $30 to $35 bill is possible. So the the big policy that Dave's system is enrolled in, and this is one of the things that we will do, so we'd handle all of this, is we do all the work with the utility company to get you enrolled into DTE's distributed generation program. So we would go through a process, or we will go through a process with you. I'm gonna try to actually have the slides. We're four presentations in now, so. So. Yeah, one thing about us is Prasad, the owner, actually, when he started the company in 2010, so he lives in Novi. The company was started by him actually putting up a system like Dave at his home, going through the whole process himself. So he was really early into this, and he wanted to get into the business side of solar. So he put the system on his home, went through the whole process. And then he eventually started doing installations in Novi. And now we've spread out all over the state. We do projects out of the state too. And every now and then we do have, Prasad turns up some international work as well. But the core part of the company was residential solar. That's how we started. And bringing the technology to homeowners in Michigan. So like Dave showed, we also do EV charging stations, or it can all be integrated into one app, where you have like your solar system, you have your battery, you have how much power the home is consuming, and then there's other features to it. So if you have an EV charger, you can bring that all into one app. And so unlike when you buy a car, where you get to drive it, when you get a solar array, you get an app. That's your full experience with the thing usually. So generally, like in my role, I feel like I'm pretty good at design and the conceptual stuff. So I might work with you directly. When I get your utility bill, I'll put that in the simulation software. I'm going to come up with some scenarios to present that to you. I'm going to go over battery backup options. I have a huge passion on battery backup systems. I think they really kind of complete the whole concept of a solar system, but it's also going to double the triple cost of your system. So when we're doing a solar only system, that's generally called like grid tied, and you're generally relying on, you're not relying, but the reason to do the project is to get your utility bill down. So that's going to be the big focus of a grid tied only project. Where if we do a hybrid system, or there's a lot of terms for this, microgrid, battery backup system. What's different is that solar arrays unfortunately drop out if the grid goes down, so they don't provide backup unless you have something that can create a microgrid, and then you need a battery to back up the technology that has the microgrid. You have to create a new 60 hertz sine wave grid at your home as the utility went away in order for the solar to reactivate. A lot of these products now are down to like millisecond transfer times. So it's pretty much like having a UPS at your home. And one of the big things I do is evaluate whether we're going to approach a whole home backup situation where we're backing up the whole house, or going through a critical load panel where we're going to be more conservative. And that's going to also be based on the battery sizing and how powerful the battery is. So we have to have enough power, not just enough energy to sustain your loads. We got to be able to boot everything back up all at once. So that's one of the big things that I will go over, is making sure we don't design something and install it that ultimately an air conditioner causes it to fail. So you can also now integrate a generator, so you can have the most resilient system possible, where if the grid goes down, the solar battery system runs the home as best it can. If the battery voltage drops to a certain level, it can trigger a generator to come on, charge the battery, run the house, turn off once the battery's recharged. And so that would be something where your home is pretty much prepared for like a collapse, where, you know, you have multiple sources. Other technology that seems to be on its way this year, and there's a little bit of this, is the bi-directional EV chargers being incorporated for homeowners. There's kind of a couple ways that you do this. If you have a EV right now, you can do like a lot of the products are like vehicle to load, not vehicle to home or vehicle to grid. So it's kind of limited in it's not really like bi-directional, but a bi-directional charger that's coming online, you would be able to have the car incorporated into the microgrid like seamlessly. So if the grid goes down, possibly without even having a stationary battery, the car could be involved and back up the whole home and achieve all those benefits. So that's where we're going. And I follow one of the big inverter companies, Enphase. They announced their bi-directional charger 4 years ago, and they just keep pushing back the release date. And I don't know if that's all technology or if it's actually like a policy issue where there's just not the motivation to have good things in our country. I'm joking, but I don't know what the deal is with us not having bi-directional chargers in 2026. The stuff has been talked about for a long time. So it's got to be political. So products are being teased. I do see like Ford and GM, which we're not, we don't really install their product line. So Ford and GM, they came out with their own power electronic brands. They seem to have a bi-directional charger situation going on if you get the GM home kit or Ford's, and if you have their trucks. The Tesla system right now, it's not fully there. You can do like vehicle to load off of the Cybertruck, but that's it. And so, which would essentially be like, you can kind of use the truck as like a mobile generator, essentially, as of right now. Might be getting a little too far into it. I'm very technical and I've been doing this a long time. So
We appreciate that.
okay. Let's get into the slide. Yeah. So all the tech stuff, super exciting, but ultimately it pretty much always comes down to like the budget. What's it going to mean for your utility bill? What are these things going to cost? Can you afford it? So that's part of the process. I'm very conscious of that and budgets, and we'll work with you. We can sometimes come up with different power electronic configurations to try to get the cost down. Do the best that we can. But yeah, like there's this term return on investment, and ultimately you're going to be judging us versus other installers by how quickly the system pays for itself. That's usually what it comes down to. So in this program, the whole idea is that we get over 10 people to sign up, and that way we can drop the cost for the entire program by 15%. So if we can get that momentum, then we have more economy of scale with our installation capacity, and so we can get that cost down with the scale. So yeah, so like a big part of our process is going to be trying to do all this design work, that if you want to be involved in that, I'm all about it. If you just want us to figure it out and come back to you, hey, Brandon, what's it going to cost? We're used to that too. But also have generally homeowners really care about their homes. They really care about the aesthetics. You'll see a lot of these more black looking panels now. I don't know if you've noticed that. I noticed it a lot. So in residential applications, a black frame with a black backsheet on the solar panel, that's going to usually have a more aesthetic look to it, especially on like dark shingles. And that can be more palatable. For someone like me, I think they look really cool and they look high tech, and it can look really elegant too. But a lot of times that, it's these big boxes and people don't like the aesthetics. So that black frame with the black back sheet can kind of keep it a little more low profile. Where when you have a white back sheet, and what I'm talking about is behind the glass, there's these cells and then there's a sheet behind that. And so if it's white, then all your cells are going to look blue. And then if you have a clear frame where there's no finish on the frame, that's also going to accent that and make that solar panel look to it. So expect, unless you want it, we're going to be thinking about that aesthetic. We're going to be coming with a black on black module for like urban areas. It's kind of what we're going to go for. And then in terms of like your expectations for when we're at your house, if we're doing a battery backup system, we usually are going to have to turn your house off for a couple hours to get our equipment in. So probably a 4 to 5 hour window, but depending on the installation, if it's a smaller grid tied only system without a battery, a lot of times we can get those done in 1 day. Where a battery backup system, it's usually like a 2 to 3 day process. If it's a bigger solar array, could take us 2 days on its own, but all the extra electrical work on battery backup systems end up, taking a little bit more time. So unfortunately, there's no incentive to do this anymore. So you're on your own.
And again,
No help. State doesn't care. Federal government doesn't care.
But we
So-
care, that's why
Yeah.
we're doing Solarize.
So if we get the 15% down, then technically you've only lost like 15%. So obviously we'd love to, that's just the reality. It's very frustrating. So if you made this decision a year ago, you would have got a 30% federal tax credit. If you do it now, it's been eliminated. So we're on our own. Sorry.
There is one benefit, is that your property taxes will not go up when you install your solar system. And the Department of Energy has done studies that indicate that if you invest solar in your house, you'll recoup that investment when you sell your house to the next person. So it's a good investment for long term. You'll save money and then you'll be able to pass the savings on to the next owner who's going to inherit the solar system from you. So you're going to be paying it forward, so to speak.
I think like your motivation, Dave, sounds like you're charging or you're running your car off the solar panels. So it's not exactly the same economics, for you as you have these different factors that you're able to look
I never
at.
thought I'd have it. So it started without it.
Yeah. But currently you're getting that benefit, right? So
Yes.
now in terms of like resiliency, and being able to back up the home, like what were the major driving factors for you in making the decision to go solar? Was that like
DTE sucks. The power was always going out. Wife was gonna say, get a Generac now because we threw out food 3 times in 1 year. So from a resiliency point of view, to be able to have to support the house and maintain basic energy levels until the sun came back up, made all the sense.
But it wasn't just, I'm gonna have the system paid off by X year.
I would mean out of pocket, if you can keep my energy bill flat for the next 10 years, I'm winning. And we're looking at the average residential increase that DTE is proposing is 9.7% in their current rate case. Now, even if they don't get all of it, I had a conversation with someone who goes, Dave, you got to actually look at what they turned in. It's closer to 11 and 12% for the average usage of energy. If we actually look at what the rate increase goes up for energy. So that's the direction.
Do you notice any difference when DT does go out, when it switches over to battery, or is it transparent?
Nothing. That's how it just happens. Like it's happening now. I'm watching it. Right now, the battery of the house is up. Well, let's see what's yes. The battery of the house is powering the house.
These are like the black on black panels that I was talking about. So I really care about the aesthetics. You know, we run into situations like this. This is like not ideal, but there was a vent in the way. Sometimes we can like hide this conduit too, or it'll actually go into the attic and then pop out on the other side when we need to connect two arrays across different roofs. But, you know, ideally we do a little bit better than that. But we're trying to balance that we need like 3 feet from the edge of the panel, usually to the edge of the roof here. We also need 1.5 feet at the top. So, I mean, this one worked out okay. You know, generally, you know, we're trying to like get rid of this rail, and like, there's a bunch of like minor details that as we've gone along as a company that we've gotten better at, where this one looks like it kind of just floats. You're not seeing any wire. It looks like we did use silver attachments where like ideally we use black attachments where you don't even see that. We're constantly trying to improve the aesthetics of our system so it's more palatable. You know, oftentimes there's more than one decision maker in the home, and this stuff will come up.
Yeah, I think we're actually gonna save questions for the end, because we only have about a minute to wrap up
I think
here.
with Dave's in mind, I think, you know, basically we are looking to connect with you. We want to get your utility bill. We'd like to go through a design process remotely and then schedule a site visit with you to come out to the home, meet you, you know, give you the proposal. And then I think it's 4 months to decide, or something like that. Or we can do that.
Yeah, for residential, we have 4 weeks to decide, but I'll go ahead and go through that process really quickly. So as Brandon mentioned, of course, we no longer have that tax credit, but we're finding that it's still a pretty sound investment to go solar for your home. As John mentioned, property value increases. Actually, in Michigan, it's around 9% with the addition of solar. And I know for different cities in the state, it can vary. Like Ann Arbor is 11%. I'm sure Novi is not too far off of that. So definitely a good investment. Yeah.
It's on that point, that's, if I gave you the right slide deck, I actually put it up there. On a conservative estimate per kilowatt, about $2,500 per kilowatt on the system. Some institute out of California said that number is probably more accurately $5,800 per kilowatt.
That's
So,
awesome.
I mean, that's,
Yeah.
if that number is right, I made money. If I.
Please note, the library will be closing in 30 minutes at 8 o'clock.
All right.
Got it.
Begin to make your final selection and
So-
bring them to the circulation desk at this time.
5% just
Thank
for
you.
being here or for participating hybrid via watching the recording. With that being said, please feel free to invite others to participate in this group by discount to bring up what we offer, because it will be up to 15% off if 10 contracts are signed. Now, the timeline for that is as follows. You have 2 weeks to request a free solar quote, and that is no commitment, no cost, just basically emailing Brandon and or myself. You'll provide your utility bills, and then they will provide what the solar system would look like for your home. Then they have 3 weeks to give you that quote. That might involve a site visit and some other tools to see exactly what that'll look like. And then we have 4 weeks after that to make that decision. Of course, this is a little flexible, so if you end up having something come up and needing more time, we can work with that, also depending on demand. But essentially, until July 3rd, we'll have that decision period. And with that, I think we have time for just a couple questions, so please feel free to ask them. But I will also say get some more food, and we'll be sticking around for just a little bit, so feel free to ask anything.